The football head jig. If you are looking to catch the biggest bass of your life, this is going to be the lure that does it. Now in this video, I'm giving you the crash course I wish someone would have given me years ago, because once I finally understood how to fish this thing correctly, it started becoming one of the most consistent big bass producers in my arsenal. So why does the football jig work so well? The football jig is built to maintain bottom contact. That football shaped head helps it crawl through rock instead of constantly being tipped over and getting jammed into every crack. And that is the key. Now, some of the biggest mistakes that anglers make is hopping a football jig way too far. And honestly, I don't even think they realize it. What feels like a small hop underwater is usually a giant leap that completely pulls the jig out of the strike zone, and it makes it look unnatural. For years, that was me, right? I was aggressively popping that rod, launching the jig off the bottom and moving it way too fast. And if you think about it, most of those crawfish are hiding tucked underneath those rocks, not flying around suspended in open water. And that's what you're trying to imitate. A crawfish slowly crawling over rock, moving a few inches, then settling back down. And most of the time, bass want this thing dragged, crawled, barely lifted, and occasionally snap free, because that subtle bottom contact is everything. And once I slowed down and stopped overworking the football head jig, I started catching way more fish and bigger fish. And what matters is bottom composition, right? Big time. You got rock, gravel, hard spots, shell beds. That is where this thing is absolutely going to shine. And honestly, when my jig starts hitting soft mud, I'm picking it up and I'm casting to a different area, because football jigs are at their best when they're coming through hard structure and deflecting all throughout it. One of the biggest unlocks for me was learning to feel the bottom. So you want to feel that jig ticking rock, bouncing through gravel, hanging up for a split second, and then popping free. And when that jig transitions from soft bottom to hard bottom, pay attention. A lot of times those transition zones are high percentage ambush spots. And you'd be surprised, right? It might be just a tiny patch of gravel in the middle of a muddy flat. It could hold absolute giants. Now the trailer changes everything, right? This is another thing most anglers overlook. The trailer completely changes the personality of a football head jig. A compact trailer with small appendages creates a tighter, more subtle action. That setup shines in cold water, clear water, or heavily pressured fisheries. Less movement, less vibration, a little more natural. Now on the flip side, big flappy trailers push way more water and create more vibration that bass can detect with their lateral line. That's money in stained water, warmer water, or when fish are actively feeding. Now when it comes to trailers, this is a Strike King I just picked up this morning. I keep losing these things like crazy because I'm fishing them in these tough places, but I really love a missile D-bomb trailer. Almost exclusively, that's what I use. Right now I'm using Strike King Rage Crawl. I think that's what it's called, Rage something. But usually I'm throwing the missile D-bombs, right? The action on those beaver style flaps is absolutely money. It's enough movement to get attention, but still natural enough crawling through the rock. So now the setup that I like to use a 7.3 to 7.6 length of rod, medium heavy to heavy power, fast action. So you need sensitivity, you need backbone, and enough rod to absolutely hammer a hook home at the end of one of those long casts. And your football head jigs, right? They're gonna have a stout, thick wire gauge hook that takes some force to penetrate past that barb. So when it comes to the reel, I like a 7-1-1 for like all around football jig fishing, and I like an 8-1-1 if you're fishing deeper offshore or want that faster slack pickup. Now football head jigs are usually a long cast technique, so when a fish eats it and swims towards you, you got to be able to catch up quick. So that's why I like those faster reels. Now the line, I'm going to use a 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. It's kind of standard. Fluoro sinks and handles rock well, and it gives that really good sensitivity. And sensitivity matters big time with the football head jig, because a lot of those bites, they feel weird, right? Sometimes they just feel like a tick. Sometimes your jig just feels heavy, like mushy. Sometimes it just stops moving. And if anything feels different, swing. And when I really want maximum sensitivity, like offshore, I run like a 30 to 50 pound braid. And a lot of times I'll run a 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon leader. You can feel everything when you run that setup. Now, rigging tricks on the football head jig. Now you could trim the weed guard slightly, especially if you have one that's really, really thick right there. You could take a few out. So if you're not fishing like in heavy cover, you can kind of dial those down a little bit. A lot of football head jigs come with really stiff weed guards from the factory. Another huge thing, make sure your trailer is perfectly straight. If it's crooked, your jig can roll awkwardly and just really look unnatural. So you might get a bass to kind of nose up on it, but they're not gonna commit. And don't be afraid to trim the skirt shorter. A more compact profile can absolutely get more bites, right? Especially when bass are feeding on smaller crayfish. This thing is gonna slip through structure and cover a whole lot better. And one more underrated trick, right? Start pulling appendages, especially if you have a lot of them, right? This can help with the fall rate and compactness. I am constantly working through different angles on how I can fish this bad boy. Also a tip is make sure to check your line constantly around rock, right? One tiny nick can cost you the fish of a lifetime. Now retrieves that absolutely get crushed, the bread and butter is gonna be the slow drag, right? Just slowly pull the jig while maintaining bottom contact. That's it, drag and pause. Pull it, stop it. Let the skirt flare up, right? A ton of bites happen when it's sitting still. You can also do those tiny hops, tiny little pops off the bottom. Now I'm not talking like these, I'm talking tiny little pops along the bottom, not giant jumps. Most crawfish move in short bursts, not launching into orbit. Also, crack it through the rock, right? When a jig hangs slightly in rock, pop it free. A lot of bites happen right after that deflection because it mimics a fleeing crayfish. And once again, watch your line. A lot of offshore bites don't even feel aggressive, right? Sometimes your line just starts swimming sideways, left or to the right. That's your cue to hammer them. Now let's talk about the jig weight guide, right? You got your 3/8 of an ounce. This is really best for shallower water. Those finesse presentations, lighter wind, slower falls. Then you get your 1/2 ounce, right? This is the all-around workhorse. If you could only pick one football head jig weight, that's probably it, the 1/2 ounce. And then you got a 3/4 ounce, right? Best for deeper offshore structure, heavy wind, current, or if you really just want to maintain solid bottom contact. Now the key is balancing feel with natural presentation. That's what you're going for, right? Too light, you lose the feel. Too heavy, the jig starts looking unnatural, crashing through cover. Now, where do you want to throw this? We mentioned a little bit, right? But the football head jig becomes an absolute weapon in rock piles, points, ledges. You got your chunk rock, banks, habitats. You got your shell beds. You got your hard bottom transitions, your dam riprap, gravel flats, deep brush edges, right? Anything connected to hard bottom. Anywhere crayfish live, this bait has a chance to shine. Those big bass love those isolated hard spots, so be on the look for that. One tiny rock pile in the middle of a flat can absolutely load up with giants. Now, football head jigs that get my money, the ones I keep on reaching for are gonna be the dirty jigs, tour level football jig. You got your Strike King, which I have on right now, tour grade football head jig. And one that I really like fishing, and recently host on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast, makes its own. And that's what that's gonna look like. It's got a rubber skirt. I'll get to that in just a minute. So I've been using these almost exclusively, but I keep losing them. So I need to get them to make me some more. And I'll make sure to throw the link in the description below for everything that I'm referencing. Okay, really quick. If you feel like you're struggling fishing and you feel like it's more of a knowledge gap issue than a fishing effort issue, I've got something that can seriously help shorten that learning curve. It's called the Deep Dive app. And honestly, it's the kind of like having a tournament angler in your back pocket. It has a ton of tools that help newer anglers make smarter decisions faster. Things like water clarity maps and wave impact maps, recent satellite imagery, proven patterns. You got stream flows, lake levels, tides, feeding windows, weather, and even a bait selector tool, which I actually think is awesome for beginners trying to figure out what to throw and when. So if you're tired of wasting hours fishing dead water and just want more information to help you make smarter moves on the water, I definitely check that out. So I'll throw the link in the description below and also pin it at the first comment. One last thing most anglers never talk about when it comes to football head jigs is the skirt, right? You got silicone skirts versus living rubber skirts, and of course the combination of both. And yes, they absolutely fish different. Most modern football head jigs use silicone. That's what we're looking at right here. It's durable, it has endless color options, and gives a cleaner, tighter action that is great for offshore dragging and warmer water and aggressive fish, right? Now, living rubber, what you're seeing here, has a much softer breathing action underwater, especially when the jig is sitting still, which is why a lot of old school jig anglers swear by it. Cold water, clear water, pressured fisheries, and honestly, some of the best jigs blend both materials together to get the best of both worlds. So if you want to experiment with something a little different, get both and see how they perform for you. I know I definitely have a favorite. Now, really quick, yes, you can catch fish on a football head jig from the bank, but man, This technique really shines from a kayak or boat where you can line up offshore structure correctly and maintain the right angles on rock piles, ledges, shell beds, and hard spots. And honestly, that's one reason I love kayak fishing so much. But here's the reality. There are more kayak anglers on the water right now than ever before. And unfortunately, the safety knowledge hasn't kept up with the growth of the sport. And that's exactly why we built KFAST, Kayak Fishing Advanced Safety Training. If you want to learn how to read water conditions, understand cold water danger, improve situational awareness, manage risk, and make smarter decisions on the water, go to kfast.co and earn your certification today. Now, a mistake a lot of jig fishermen make is they think that all jigs are created equal. There's actually multiple types of jigs, and I actually go through that in that video right here. And also, one of my favorite, also big bass slayers, is the swim jig. You can check out and learn about that video right there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you out in the water.